A really thought-provoking script about peace talks went viral recently, and it posed a question that's just so fundamental. Can you actually truly find peace if one of the key players in a conflict isn't even at the table? Today, we're going to dive into that very idea, what I'm calling the empty chair dilemma. So, to really get a grip on this dilemma in the real world, the script points us toward a pretty high-stakes example that's unfolding as we speak. The source material we're looking at really zeroes in on Pakistan's reemergence on the global stage. And we're not just talking about hosting meetings here. It's about taking on that incredibly difficult role of a mediator, someone trying to build bridges in some of the most heated disputes on the planet. And a perfect case in point is the effort to get the United States and Iran talking. As you can see, Pakistan is trying to act as that go-between. But this immediately brings up our big question, right? Can these kinds of talks ever lead to a lasting peace if, say, some really influential groups within those countries don't have a seat at the table? So, this specific situation really shines a light on a much bigger, much more universal problem in the world of diplomacy. The whole empty chair thing, it's not unique to any one negotiation. It's a fundamental challenge to how we try to solve conflicts everywhere. Just think about it for a second. When you picture peace talks, what do you see? Probably a big table, right? And around that table, leaders are making these huge decisions, signing papers that are going to shape the future for millions of people. It's where history gets written. But what happens when someone who should be there just isn't?
And boom, there it is. This is the absolute core question that the script forces all to confront. It sounds simple on the surface, doesn't it? But the implications are just massive. I mean, can you really legitimately decide someone's fate when they have absolutely no voice in that decision?
So, the really crucial thing here is to understand what that absence truly means. It's not just a scheduling problem or a logistical hiccup. It goes right to the heart of what justice and legitimacy even mean in the whole peacemaking process. And this is where the script just totally reframes the problem with one incredibly powerful question. Suddenly, it's not about diplomatic rules anymore. It becomes a deeply moral question. Can any resolution be considered just if the people who are most affected have zero say in it? Okay, let's really break down the powerful symbolism of that empty chair. First off, it represents a missing perspective, all that crucial experience and information that's just not in the room. That in turn raises huge questions about the legitimacy of whatever agreement they come up with. That empty chair is literally an unheard voice. And maybe the most dangerous part, it's basically planting the seeds for the next conflict. Because a peace that's forced on people instead of agreed to by them, well, that's rarely a peace that's going to last. And look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. This has very real, very tangible consequences that we see playing out in conflicts all across the globe. This is a pretty tough reality to swallow. The empty chair scenario isn't some rare thing. It's actually a depressingly common part of global diplomacy. For all sorts of reasons, politics, power struggles, or just because it's too darn hard, talks go on, decisions get made, and whole groups of people are left out of the very process that will define their future.
And this gets to a really critical distinction the source makes, the difference between a ceasefire and genuine peace. See, a ceasefire is just the absence of fighting, but genuine peace, as it's defined here, has to be built on a foundation of inclusion and consent. It means that everyone who has a stake in the outcome has to be a part of the solution. All of this brings us to the final, and, maybe the most important question that this whole thing has been building towards. What are we actually trying to achieve when we use that word, peace?
And so, the source leaves us with this final thought to chew on. Is the simple act of negotiation, the fact that talks are even happening, is that enough? Or is the presence of every single affected party a non-negotiable ingredient for anything we can honestly call peace?
In the end, the script lands on this powerful conclusion. It's a direct challenge to how things are so often done, arguing that the process of getting to peace matters just as much as the outcome itself. In other words, talk is cheap if not everyone gets to speak.
And that's where we'll leave it. The source leaves us with this final question, and so will I. Is an imperfect peace one with an empty chair better than no peace at all? Or is inclusion the one thing we can never, ever compromise on? I'd love to know what you think. Thanks for joining me.